Hello guys, welcome to day 13 of the advent of cyber here on TryHackMe. Today we'll be treating WebSockets, and the team here says it came without buffering, it came without lag. Now the story here says this sock mass was packed with exploits and hacking. Today's threat, an app which allows wearers car tracking, mail malware no doubt. Well, that's their suspicion. For Glitch and McSkidy, the proof was their mission. Alright, so this particular day, it's all about security, right? So the glitch discovers that there's an app is illegally tracking the cars in Wareville. Not many car thefts in the city warrant such an extreme measure. So he reaches out to McSkidy to investigate and identify how the application is tracking them and leaking users' position. So the objective of these tasks today is to learn about WebSockets and their vulnerability, and also learn how WebSocket message manipulation can be done. So we'll start the machine here, scroll up to the top, and also start the attack box as well. I might use the attack box or not. I might also use my VPN, depending on the case, but the attack box should do. So while the attack box is loading, let me quickly run through. WebSockets lets your browser and the server keep a constant line of communication open. You know how you have a video game where you keep talking, you only need to connect once? Yes, WebSocket is what helps us to achieve that. Now, unlike the old school method of asking for something, getting a response, and then hanging up, WebSockets are like keeping the phone lines open so that you can chat whenever you need to. Now, once that connection is set up, the client and the server can talk back and forth without all the extra requests. Now, like I mentioned before, WebSockets are great for live chats, real-time games, or any live data feed where you want to when you want some constant updates. Now, what's the difference between the traditional HTTP requests and the WebSockets? Now, when you use regular HTTP, your browser would send a request to the server, and the server responds, then closes that connection. If you need new data, you would have to make another request. Think of it like knocking on someone's door every time you want something. They would answer, but it can get tiring if you need to update constantly. Now take a chat app as an example. With the HTTP, your browser would keep asking any new messages every few seconds. Now this method, known as pooling, works, but it isn't efficient. But the browser and the server end up doing a lot of unnecessary work just to stay updated. But WebSocket, on the other hand, it handles things differently. Once the connection is established, it remains open, allowing the server to push updates to you whenever there is something new. It's more like leaving the door open so updates can come in immediately without a constant back and forth knocking, something like that. Now this approach is faster and uses fewer resources, but it comes with a vulnerability, and most of this vulnerability can be taken advantage of by hackers. Now let's go through some of the impact of changing WebSocket messages depending on how the app uses them and what kind of data is being sent. 1. If you're doing things without permission, if someone can tamper with WebSocket messages, they could impersonate another user and carry out unauthorized actions such as making purchases, transferring funds, changing account settings, and so on. For example, if a WebSocket manages payment transaction, an attacker could manipulate this transaction's amount to reroute the payment to their own account. It also can be gaining extra privileges. Attackers could also manipulate messages to make the system think they have more privileges than they actually do. This could let them access admin controls, change user data, view sensitive info, or mess with system settings. Now, messing up data is another one. One of the significant risks is data corruption. If someone is changing the messages, they could feed bad data into the system. And lastly, crashing the system. An attacker could also use spam messages like the DOS attack. They could spam the server with bad requests, causing it to slow down or crash. If this happens enough, the system could go offline, causing serious downtime for users and businesses. Now, without good security checks, this kind of message tampering can lead to anything from unauthorized action to downing of an entire service. Now that our attack box is ready, I'm going to view it in full screen. When I come back here, I'm going to minimize this, and let's start the exploitation, which is basically the practical of today. So I'll scroll down. Mind you, we're going to be using burp suite. So basically we need to navigate to this URL. I'm going to copy that link, come over to my browser here, and let me paste it here first. Okay, once I've copied that, first I would like to open my Firefox here. Alright, now I can click on this browser here, paste that link. Yeah, once you paste that link, we hit enter and wait for it to load. Here we go. So we see it's a Wareville car tracker, and more or less you get community reports around here. You see McSkidy, the city center is traffic is looking good, come visit, and so on. If you click on track here, you find out you see the car moving, okay, and so on. So you know where the car is. This is glitch car and so on. Now we need to start our Bob suit. Now to stop Bob suit, we open the Bob suit here. So it's loading. So once it's done loading, it's going to tell you temporary project in memory, and you just say next. And of course, you say use Bob by default. You start the Bob. So once Bob is loaded, let's do some quick settings. As you can see, this is pretty tiny. I'm going to close this. Come over to settings here. Click on settings on the top right side here. Settings. Once the settings is loaded, we'll come over to user interface here, and let's go over to display. Once on display, we can come over to the top here where it says appearance and increase this font size to about 15. And once you click that, it automatically increases the size. And then next you want to go over to message editor, and then under message editor you scroll down. You see HTTP message display. You click on change font, and then you select 15. You hit OK. Just in case I would like to use the Bob browser, so I click on Bob browser here, and then over here you say allow Bob browser to run with sandbox. Once you're done, you just close the settings page, come over to proxy intercept, come over to proxy settings here. Alright, now if you scroll down, you're going to see this option that says WebSocket interception rules. You want to make sure these two intercepts are on. Intercept client to server and intercept server to client messages. We have them turned on. Okay, now with this we can now close our settings again, and also make sure your intercept here is on. Once the intercept here is on, we minimize this. Once we close this, the first thing we want to do before we do anything is to come over to the top right side here and turn on Bob, so it can actually capture our traffic. Once we have that set to Bob, we'll come over here and click on track. Once we click on track, okay, now we just go back to our Bob suite. It's not showing any intercept. Now it's kind of slow, it's kind of lagging. I experienced this the first time I tried using it. Now I might just close this and use my actual I'll use my actual system Bob suite. Okay, it's same thing. So I'll just come over to browser, turn on my intercept on here, and let me try to copy link here. Copy the link. We're going to open it here in this browser here, hit enter. So we have the same thing loading up here, so more or less the same thing. If you come up to the top right side here, you can select Bob. Okay, alright, once you have Bob selected, we'll hit track. Once you hit track, it's supposed to intercept it here. The same thing. I don't know if it's TryHackMe machine or my machine, but I've been experiencing this huge lag. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this, open browser here. I'm just going to use the browser here, so let's see if that's faster. Okay, over here I'll paste here, hit enter. Okay, so here we'll go with the page, and I'll come over to my Bob suite here, turn on my intercept, come over to this part and click on track. You see, once I clicked on track, it just captured this traffic. Now it has the 42 track and the user ID is 5. The question had us to change the user ID to 8, and once we hit forward, okay, once we hit forward, if we come back to our web here, it should load the community report and show us our flag. So okay, so I've tried everything here. I think it might be my machine or the machine, so I'm just gonna restart the machine and try again and see what happens. Alright guys, I just rebooted the machine and I'm going to try to use my own burp suite here, not the attack box. And I already opened my browser here, so I'm just going to load the URL that was given to us, and let's see. So the URL is loading, and as you can see, your vehicles, track your vehicles and so on. So I'll come over here to my burp suite and turn on my intercept on. Come back to the web address here and come back to the web address here and hit track. So I hit track, I'll come back to my burp suite here. I have to forward. This is not the request, this is the request. 42 track user ID is 5, so I want to change the user ID to 8. Okay, alright, changing the user ID to 8, and then I'll forward. Okay, once I forward, I'm supposed to get like the flag. It's going to take some couple of minutes. I figured it's taking some minutes to pop up here, but if you come back here and keep forwarding, it's going to show you that particular it's going to show us that particular flag. It's going to show up. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. Flag 1 is over here, so I'm going to copy this. All right, and let me see here. Copy that, and if you come over here, we can paste our flag here, and that's the answer to our first question. If you submit, as you can see, that's correct. Now if we come back over here, we turn off, let's turn off our intercept first. Okay, so I'm turning off the intercept here, and I'm going to refresh this page. Now once I refresh this page, similarly we can type AAA here. I'll come back here and turn on intercept and hit send, and we get this. So 42 send message AAA sender. We'll come over here and change this to 8. all right, send forward that, and turn off our intercept. Okay, all right. Basically this is our flag 2, similarly to the one we did the first time. So I'm going to copy this. This is our flag 2. Normally once you turn off the intercept, it should appear over here. Okay, so I'll copy that, and let's answer our last question over here and hit enter. That's correct. Okay, so usually what you might want to do is either once you send out, you can just turn off the intercept and wait for it to appear here, but if it's delaying, you can just keep forwarding to see the flag. Okay, so having done that, you can forward this and turn off the intercept, and maybe wait and see if it will show up here. Okay, over here, that's the end for the for the tags. If you enjoyed the tags, feel free to check the burp suite module and hit complete. Okay, and that's that for day 13. Thank you guys for studying with me. Thank you guys for learning with me. I'll see you guys for another challenge tomorrow. Have a nice day. Ciao.